Although now it's like, so many people use different apps. So I've got WhatsApp, Signal, Telegram, which makes me feel like a terrorist. Telegram's the one where it's like running all these like dodgy, super right-wing channels and stuff.
I would like to be a terrorist.
Today's episode is brought to you by Surfshark, the VPN browser extension, an app that keeps you safe and private on the internet, while also allowing you unlimited access to content wherever you're located. That's brilliant. And more about them in just a bit. Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Brain Blaze. I, as always, am your revered leader, Simon Wammas here. One of my writers, in this case, Dave. Thank you, Dave. Has written me a script. I'm going to read it. And we're going to learn something together. Insane product markups. Let's go. Yes. It's so cold. It just came out of the fridge. During a recent trip to London, and after being charged £16.30 for what amounted to a cheese toastie and a cup of coffee, no matter what the pretentious menu item described it as, I got to wondering just how exactly companies have been getting away with this for quite so long. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm fully aware that in my situation, it was location, location, location. If you want to eat a cheese toastie under a roadside awning in the freezing cold, pouring rain in London, you've got to pay for the privilege. Yeah, London is really expensive. I lived in London for a year. And it's expensive. I think the difference is when you live there, you work out all these little tricks and it becomes a lot cheaper. Like you could take the bus for £1 instead of the underground for what was £3, something like that. And the bus, you could just travel it as long as you wanted. It was just you pay £1 when you go on, and that was great. So I didn't really take the underground very much. I was always just riding around on buses. Cinemas, you could go like on the cheap day and as a student, and then there was buy one, get one free, so you could go to the movies for cheap. There were tons of restaurants which had like special deals for students combined with like internet discounts. You figured it out. But when you go to visit, you're just like, why?
Was ist?
But exactly how is it that, for example, cinemas have been getting away with charging £6.50 for 30 or 40 pence worth of popcorn all of these years? Because that's where they make their money, isn't it? Like the price of the ticket, like 10 quid or whatever it is, 11 quid, I think, roughly. Last time I have to say it's been a long time I went to the cinema, but I feel like someone went recently and told me the price, and I was like, oh, hello. But that's not where they make the money. They make the money on the popcorn and stuff, which is why you just sneak in your own shit.
Those are illegal.
My sister worked at a cinema when she was younger, and then years later, I was like telling her, no, it's often taking like one of those little mini bottles of wine. Me and my now wife would sneak in a little mini bottle of wine each and enjoy those. And she was like, you're the people who leave the little bottles of wine behind in the cinema. And I'm like, yeah, that's me. In today's Blaze, we will take a look at some of the most ridiculously marked up products and try to discover whether or not there is any legitimate reason behind these cases of forced open wallet surgery. Cinemas! Oh, have I spoiled this one already? I'm sorry.
Do not be sorry. Be better.
Well, let's get this out of the way early. The cinema concession stand is one of the most frequently encountered examples of borderline criminal product markups. Although opinions vary widely on just exactly what the markup is on, for example, popcorn, the general consensus seems to be around 1,275%. So, why do people pay this? It's just nice, you know? I mean, when I was I was just saying, like, as a student, you know, go to the cinema on the cheap day, half price plus the discount for, like, being a student or whatever. It was really cheap. Did I buy popcorn? Fuck no. I'd buy, like, a Boost bar. And then I'd tuck that in my little pocket and go in and enjoy that and maybe crack a can of cheap beer. But now that I'm an adult and have money, I'm like, yeah, I love a popcorn and a Coke. Popcorn! And, is that a beer? Yeah, I'll take one of those as well. And I live it up like a king. Well, there are a number of reasons for this. Firstly, at least in the UK, until fairly recently, you weren't permitted to bring your own snacks into the cinema. That's changed. I've always had to sneak the snacks into the cinema. Now they're like, you could bring in your own snacks. I thought they made all the money from the snacks. So unless you were prepared to sit for 2 hours or more with only a movie to distract you, then you had little choice. No, you didn't, Dave. What are you talking about? Even if they were like, you can't bring in their backpack. You got to put it in the cloakroom. One of my favorite tricks was like cinemas are almost always in like shopping centers, right? So you just get a bag from like Marks and Spencer's or whatever, put some clothes in it, and put the food beneath the clothes. Boom. Easy. or the bottle of wine. Secondly, people are weird. The majority of us see a trip to the cinema as a bit of an indulgent treat, and as such, we expect things to cost a little bit more. Thirdly, children. Any of you who have any of these will be aware that it can be exceptionally difficult to walk past a counter laden with temptingly arrayed and packaged treats without being harangued into purchasing at least one or two. Cinema owners are not stupid, and obviously they use this to their advantage. But is there any justification for these insane prices? Well, yes. Sort of. Running a cinema is an incredibly expensive business. Large premises are required in order to house large screens, and in big city locations, rent alone can be crippling to all but the largest companies. It does amaze me.
You're the ones who tricked us!
You were the twerps who let yourselves get tricked!
Well, maybe you've got a point.
Don't agree with the enemy?
Like, if you go to see an IMAX movie in the afternoon, I remember once I went to the cinema, it was like the afternoon on a Wednesday or whatever for some reason, just a normal working day, and I went to see an IMAX movie. I think it was at the start of COVID or something, which is why I decided, okay, I'll work on the weekends and I'll go to the cinema in the middle of the week or something like that. Whatever it was. I was in the cinema on a Wednesday. There were 3 people in there, me and 2 other people, seeing an IMAX movie. And it's a vast fucking cinema. Maybe, I don't know, it's hundreds of people could fit in there. And you're in the center of a city. You're like, this is crazy. How can you pay for this? Fascinating tangent, Simon. Let's carry on. Well, that's before we take into account staffing costs, equipment purchase or rental, and general maintenance. Once all of that has been paid for, you need some movies to show in your cinema. Although cinemas usually obtain these movies through an agreement to share profit with the providers, the agreement almost never favors the cinema. In the case of some high-profile movies, the cinema may only receive as little as 10 or 20% of the overall ticket sales. Therefore, the extra money must be found somewhere, and exceptionally overpriced confectionery is as good a source as any. So the next time you're complaining that trip to the cinema meant you had to sell your car or remortgage, just remember, it's not really the fault of the establishment, but rather it's the fault of Hollywood. Yeah, but also they're making really big, expensive movies, and you're paying to see the really big, expensive movie. It's just how it works. And you don't have to buy the sweets if you don't want to, and you can still see the movie for what is kind of a good deal, even though it's not. Soft drinks in pubs. I have no idea what that's like, because I drink alcohol. I've been out of the pub game now for a few years, but even when I was reliant on the sale of soft drinks in order to keep the pub warm and the beer cold... What? Oh, I get it. Because Dave worked in a pub. I'm like, wait, what? How's... Makes sense. He told us this previously. I felt guilty charging nearly £3 for a pint of lemonade. That is such a fucking... It's like £1 more, £2 more for a beer. Assuming that you're not too stingy when setting the syrup to carbonated water levels, you can produce an acceptable pint of lemonade or cola for approximately 25p. This is why many establishments have no qualms about offering bottomless soft drinks for about £4. Unless they're incredibly unlucky, they are still going to make £2 or £3 profit on the deal. The reason for these exorbitant markups is very similar to the reasons for hyper-expensive popcorn. Again, I'm sure prices have increased considerably since I was involved in the business, but back then it cost nearly £200 a week in electricity to keep the beer cold. God damn. That's expensive. It is a very fortunate pub indeed that makes any profit before it has taken in £10,000 a month. Oh my god, pub margins are thin. I kind of thought, I know, I guess that makes sense. Is it restaurants or pubs that have famously thin margins, or is it both? It's probably both. I mean, if you've got to make £10,000 in revenue to even break even, that's intense. So are soft drinks important? Unless you're lucky enough to own a freeholding, you're usually tied to a brewery. This means that in order to sell alcohol in an establishment, you must purchase it from said brewery at vastly inflated prices. For example, although it is possible to purchase 50 litres or 88 pints of Foster's for £150, most pubs are tied to a brewery and they'll end up paying nearly double that. Jesus, are you making any money? You can't charge £4 for a pint of Foster's. It's disgusting. That means that out of the approximately 80 pints that you can actually sell from a barrel, and given that the average price for a pint of beer in the United Kingdom is now around $3.95, some pubs are making as little as £16 on each barrel of beer. That's absurd. If you factor in the cost of keeping the beer cold, paying somebody to pour it for you, and the price of the gas that is necessary to extract the beer from the barrel, in extreme cases, beer is being sold at a loss. In order to support your local pub, it is vital that you bring along at least one designated driver on your night out and make sure that they're well stocked with peanuts, crisps, and soft drinks.
Cranberry juice.
It's natural diuretic.
My girlfriend drinks it when she's got her period. What do you get, your period?
Now, let me interrupt today's video to tell you about our fantastic sponsor, Surfshark. What is Surfshark? Oh, it's an affordable VPN service that protects your online privacy and security. How affordable, I hear you yelling. How much is this going to cost me, fact boy? Well, I'll tell you in a little bit, and I have a very, very deep discount for you to the surprise of nobody. So using Surfshark protects you wherever you're connected to Wi-Fi in public. With Surfshark, your location and download history is kept private, so you can send and receive files securely, which is important. You don't want people snooping on your shit. I don't care what you're up to. You don't want anyone looking at what you're up to. It's private. Even if you're just downloading like boring ass shit. I don't want anyone looking at my boring ass shit. You know? It's private. Leave me alone. Change your virtual location for access to all websites regardless of geo-blocks or government restrictions. Make sure you're getting the best deals when shopping online and get access to all streaming content. Don't let websites rip you off based on your location. Airlines. Oh, look, this flight I looked at yesterday is a lot more expensive now. I wonder why. It's because they know you were there before and they know you want it bad. 3,200 servers in 100 countries. GPS spoofing on Android. And even the GPS spoofing. I didn't even know that was a thing. That's really cool. So it can like... it can make you think... It can make whoever your website you're connected to think that you are in a different country by GPS. How is that possible? That's amazing. And even the ability to multi-hop, putting 2 VPN servers between you and your online destination for even more privacy and security. Exclusively for the use of spies. So, don't miss out on this opportunity to protect your online privacy and security. Visit surfshark.deal/blaze and use the promo code BLAZE to get 83% off and 3 extra months for free. Surfshark.deal/blaze for 83% off. That's 17% on. And those 3 extra months for free. Thank me later, especially all you spies out there. And now back to today's show. Diamonds. As many of you are probably aware, although proposing with a diamond ring is a concept that has been around for centuries, it only really took off in 1947 when De Beers launched an aggressive marketing campaign in order to sell diamonds. This is the biggest scam of all time, allegedly, according to me, in my opinion. As far as the diamond is concerned, the consumer is being screwed over in 2 ways. Firstly, the number of diamonds in the free market is strictly controlled in order to create a false sense of rarity, and secondly, especially in the case of engagement rings, jewelers often inflate the retail price by as much as, and wait for it, 1,000%. And this feels different to the 1,200% on popcorn, because popcorn is a fairly cheap starting point. Diamonds, not so much.
It's very expensive.
It's very expensive.
So why are people prepared to pay this? It really boils down to only one reason, and that is the aforementioned marketing campaign. And also peer pressure. Like, I would never have done this, but because I know it's a scam, but everyone else's wife or the person they've proposed to has a diamond ring, so you're like, okay, I guess I gotta buy one of those. What the fuck? With the help of celebrities of the time, De Beers not only popularized the slogan, "Diamonds are forever," but also introduced the concept that engagement rings should cost 2 months' salary, which, I'm sorry, can fuck off. Like, I bought my mum. Freudian slip there. I bought my wife engagement ring, but it did not cost 2 months' salary. Because I'm not f***ing insane. Also, that would be a lot of money. This particular stroke of marketing genius has continued to have an effect until this very day. Due to a particularly fortunate set of circumstances, I was able to forego the purchasing of an engagement ring entirely. A friend of mine works at a university and has access to the newest equipment and skills to be able to take a lump of coal that my wife stole from a steam engine on one of our first dates, carry out some complicated carbon extraction process I won't even pretend to understand, and produce me a small diamond. That's f***ing sick. Why didn't I have that done? Although that sounds very expensive. I'd just be like, where did you get that coal? I just stole it. I just went to the DIY store and bought some coal. Then I had this cut and installed in a ring. Granted, the resultant gem probably wouldn't stand up to examination by a professional diamond expert, but it is still pretty cool. Also, good news. No professional diamond experts are ever looking at that ring unless it's being sold. And if it's being sold, you probably don't give a shit anymore.
It's a fake.
Sadly, for those of you who do not know the appropriate nerd and have a wife who is determined to have a diamond, it is highly likely that you will be horrendously overcharged for this sparkly trinket. Yeah, my wife didn't pressure me to do this at all. Society pressures you to do this. I suppose that it is only fair to add that had I paid for all of the steps involved in the process of creating my wife's engagement ring, the final cost would have been far in excess of 2 months' salary. Flowers. Whilst I'm not particularly a huge fan of displaying vases of floral carcasses around the home, I do understand that there are those to whom this practice brings joy. I don't understand it. I don't buy flowers. I buy plants. Like, we have so many orchids at home because I'll buy my wife like an orchid And then it lives forever. And then like every half a year, it has all these orchids again. And it's awesome. Fuck flowers. You're just like taking something beautiful and then killing it and putting it in a vase for a few days. It's depressing. If my memory serves me correctly, I recall an episode of the short-lived Simon Whistler podcast. Yeah, I did a podcast for a few months. It wasn't very popular, so I stopped doing it. In which Simon himself expressed a particular interest in orchids. Oh my God, Dave, you have a memory and a half. Certainly one of the more shockingly expensive examples of dead flora with which some people choose to adorn their homes. Yeah, I don't buy the ones where they've cut off the orchids and put it in like a display. I buy the whole orchid plant. And then like people throw those away. I don't. And they grow massive and they get huge and then they have so many orchids. Don't throw away your orchids, just let them live and they'll flower again and it's awesome. Unfortunately for the anthophiles amongst us, flowers are yet another example of products with insane markups. According to an article called Florist Pricing, a basic guide to markup, which I found on the website weloveflorists.com, for flowers and foliage, the most commonly used markup is 350% your wholesale cost per stem. This is just the markup on your day-to-day bunch of flowers and does not include having those flowers arranged in an aesthetically pleasing pattern. If the customer wants the flowers to be arranged, then the guide recommends charging 20 to 30% of the overall cost of the flowers. Yeah, oh boy. And then you get to wedding flowers, which is a whole other scam, and it's like, oh my God. It's just like, how? How is it so expensive? Why have you done this to me, society? And that's just the start. If you're foolish enough to utter the words wedding, or birthday, or Valentine's Day in close proximity to a florist, then really prepare to be fleeced. Last year, as an experiment, I popped into my local florist and inquired the price of a dozen red roses. I cannot correctly recall exactly what the price was, but when I made the same inquiry 1 week before Valentine's Day, the price had more than tripled. Get those roses, freeze them. Would that work? You probably can't freeze them, right? Nevertheless, I, like many of you, frequently fall victim to this scam. I'm not even sure why the giving of flowers has come to be a romantic gesture. For me, the metaphorical implication is clear and not one that I wish to associate with a long-term relationship. Yes, things might look pretty good right now, but within a comparatively short time, everything will begin to wilt, go crispy, and bits will start dropping off everywhere. Happy Valentine's Day. Anybody else think this is a bit weird? Yeah. Bottled water. Leaving aside the outrageous environmental cost of using bottled water, the percentage cost to the consumer is quite sobering. According to a Reader's Digest article, a bottle of water that costs $2 only costs about 5 cents to manufacture. This is a markup of 4,000%. Whilst paying this amount of money for a drink you can obtain for free from any tap, or faucet for Americans, oh yeah, that's a weird one. I never thought about that. Might seem insane. It is quite literally the tip of the iceberg. But the staggering price of €179 or $190 or £158. Svalbardi.com will send you 750 mils of allegedly unparalleled water extracted from Arctic glazes. Svalbardi.com going to fuck off. £158? You can get a great bottle of champagne for that price. Jesus. According to the website, the water is sourced from the fjords around Svalbard Islands at 79 degrees north, just over 1,000 kilometers from the North Pole. The ice has been preserved inside the center of the glacier until being released into the sea and requires no chemical treatment. It has the fresh taste of snow in the air that fell before modern pollution. All right, Svalbardi, chill the fuck out. This water is not just for those people who want to make it clear to their friends that they have considerably more money than sense. It's also for those people who want to look like they genuinely care about the environment. The site goes on to tell us that with every Blue Ice Edition bottle purchased, €5 will be donated to support the April 2021 Climate Sentinels research expedition across Svalbard. €5. Wasn't your water like €190 or something insane? That's fucking stingy, mate. 5 female scientists and explorers will undertake a 450-kilometer carbon-neutral ski journey. Wait, are we paying for someone's fucking holiday? They will collect snow and ice samples along the way to better understand the role of black carbon production in Arctic melting. In my opinion, this is not entirely dissimilar to those Kenyan safari companies who charge rich Americans with small penises thousands and thousands of dollars to go and shoot a lion so that they can then use that money for wildlife conservation. I disagree, actually, Dave, because I was reading about, was it Cecil the fucking lion or whatever his face was? And they're like, oh, well, you know, it goes, it's really bad that this dentist shot this lion. It's like, it cost him like $50,000. It wasn't I can't remember exactly what the fee was, but it was massive. And that's a massive amount of money to go into like nature preservation. €5 to send people on a skiing holiday. I know it's not a skiing alert. I know they're doing some science or whatever. Just run with my joke here. It's different.
No.
Getting back to bottled water, this particular markup is one of the easiest to avoid. If you're out and about, buy yourself a reusable water bottle and fill it up at home. Yeah, but it's a hassle, because then you're like, I'm not thirsty when I'm leaving home. I'll be out for like a couple of hours and I'll be like, I'm thirsty now. And otherwise I've got to carry around a bottle. And because I'm a man, I don't carry a purse. Why the fuck can't men carry purses? This drives me insane. I'm like, always like, even in the summer, I'm like, I'll wear a jacket because I don't want to carry my wallet and my phone and all that shit in these pockets down, keys down here. I'm like renovating a house now, and I'm absolutely desperate to get rid of keys. I feel like they're last vestiges of shit that I have to carry around. And I'm like, no, smart locks, smart alarm, everything. I'm not carrying keys. I don't want to have keys because I don't have a purse. If I had a purse, it'd be no problem. And I'm not wearing one of those ridiculous bum bags or fanny packs that people wear around here. You look ridiculous. I don't know what to say anymore.
That's not my problem. It's yours.
And I'm not wearing a bum bag, regular bum bag, because I'm not an American tourist in Europe.
Look, a clock. We don't have that in America.
Alternatively, when eating at a restaurant, ask for tap water instead of the advertised bottled water. I don't know about the rest of the world, but any establishment that is licensed to sell alcohol in the UK is legally obligated to provide anyone with free tap water, regardless of whether or not they have purchased anything at all. This was a law that I had quoted to me every Sunday afternoon when the local running club came into my pub and ordered 15 pints of water. In the 3 years that I worked there, not one of them ever ordered so much as a bag of crisps. The Thai bastards. What the fuck? I get that it's the law, but that's just rude. Jesus. Text messages. Although SMS messaging has largely been replaced by things like WhatsApp, iMessage, and Telegram, it is still occasionally necessary to revert back to the standard text message. Yeah, as I see on my bill every month when I accidentally went green with someone. And it's like, oh God, why have we done this? And sometimes it's like messaging people abroad. And you're like, oh, why? Because this happens. And then my like fixed price bill with unlimited everything, or like unlimited minutes and unlimited data, but not unlimited text, because who texts anymore? And it'll be like a few pounds or a few crowns more than I expected. And I'm like, what the fuck, man? Come on.
This motherfucker right here.
This inconvenience is usually caused by Android users who simply refuse to switch to the far superior iPhone. Fucking agreed, Dave. However, I digress. As far as I'm aware, pretty much every provider of pay monthly mobile contracts offers an unlimited text message bundle. But for those who do not choose this option, or for those of us who pay as you go, the price of sending a single text message is scandalous. I really think I get charged for these text messages because my bill is always more expensive than it should be on the unlimited everything package. I guess it's the international texts that do it because they're not covered. Anyway, moving on. If the information reported on extremetech.com is to be believed, it costs more money to send a gigabyte of data back from Mars than to send a gigabyte worth of data via text message using Verizon Wireless or AT&T. Without some sort of text message plan, both of these providers will charge a maximum of 20 cents per SMS message sent. Even if we accept that that is indeed the maximum cost, and it's usually cheaper at 10 cents per text, message carriers are still charging $625,000 per gigabyte of data sent. Yeah, because it's just text. And that's it, you got to send a lot of text to get to a gigabyte. If we compare this to the estimated costs of sending 1 gigabyte of data from Mars Global Surveyor, it comes in to just over a third of the cost at $284,000. Oh my God, it's so expensive to send data to Mars, which doesn't surprise me at all. It's Mars. That's cool though, $284,000 to send a gigabyte of data back from Mars. Man, that 4K image of those landers landing then, it's really expensive. 4K is a lot. I don't even film in 4K. So what is the markup on text messages? This is very difficult to calculate due to the fact that most carriers are less than forthcoming with information about how much it costs to actually send one SMS message. However, much more respected analysts than me frequently put the number well into the billions. If we take into account the fact that there are about 6 billion active mobile phones across the globe, then all of this amounts to a serious chunk of change for network providers. So, is there anything we can do about this? The only real way to prevent yourself being ripped off by your provider, apart from purchasing text message bundles, is to just simply not use the service. And really, unless you live in a location that is devoid of mobile internet signal, there's no need to send text messages anymore. The previously mentioned message platforms have all but rendered SMS messaging superfluous, and if the Android fan club would just stop slowing down progress and just purchase iPhones, then we may be able to bury all the text messages once and for all. Doesn't everyone else use WhatsApp? Just use WhatsApp. It's like, I know it's Facebook, and I don't like Facebook, but it's very convenient. Although now it's like, so many people use different apps. So I've got WhatsApp, Signal, Telegram, which makes me feel like a terrorist. Telegram's the one where it's like running all these like dodgy, super right-wing channels and stuff. But a friend of mine, who's just a normal dude. I think it's bigger in Spain, and he's Spanish, and he was like, yeah, we use Telegram. And I'm like, oh God. Okay, here we go.
I would like to. I would like to be a terrorist.
Printer ink. Oh, we've all been there. You leave printing off your boarding pass or your venue ticket until the last possible opportunity, only to discover that your printer is now out of ink. No problem, you think. I'll just jump onto Amazon or run down to the shops, pick up some more, and all shall be well. Unfortunately, after purchasing the necessary ink or toner, you discover that you no longer can afford to go on holiday, afford your planned night out, or indeed afford anything else for the rest of the month. But why is this stuff so expensive? Is black ink mined deep underground, or blue ink extracted from charged particles of the ionosphere? Obviously, the answer to that is no.
One of these days, I just kick this piece of shit out the window.
You and me both, man.
So, just how much is the consumer being shafted every time they shell out for a new cartridge? According to Martin Dykhoff, store manager at one of the UK branches of Cartridge World, some printer cartridges can cost as little as 50p to make. Furthermore, although a litre of ink can be purchased for approximately £2 or $2.39, it is extremely rare that your £25 cartridge, or about $30, will contain more than 20 millilitres of ink. If we accept that Dykhoff knows what he's talking about, manufacturers are making over £1,000 of profit per litre of printer ink. Believe it or not, though, it gets worse. According to research carried out by the Guardian newspaper, although the price of printer cartridges is on the increase, the actual amount of ink contained within those cartridges is decreasing. The paper claims that the Epson T0... Wow. The Epson T032 color cartridge, released in 2002, is the same size as the Epson T089 cartridge, released in 2008, but the T032 contains 60 mils of ink, and the T089 contains just 3.5 mils. What the fuck? It's a similar story with Hewlett-Packard cartridges. A decade ago, the best-selling cartridge had 42 mils of ink and sold for about £20. Today, the standard printer cartridges made by HP will contain as little as 5 mils of ink, but they cost £13. Previously, it was fairly simple to reduce these costs by purchasing third-party cartridges that were compatible with your brand of printer. Yeah, they chipped them, though, so it became impossible to do that. I remember when this happened, and it was very upsetting. And you'd buy them and you'd put them in, and sometimes they work, sometimes they wouldn't. Sometimes your printer would be like, I need magenta. Put magenta in, and I know it's a fake magenta, but f*** you. However, manufacturers attempted to put a stop to this by programming the printers that they sell in such a way that they'll only work with the correct branded cartridges. This controversial decision has raised questions as to whether or not this is actually legal. I suspect that if car manufacturers develop a method whereby their vehicles would only run on their vastly inflated brand of fuel, consumers would have quite a lot to say about it. Yeah, but they'd probably make the cars a lot cheaper, because printers are really cheap. I don't quite understand why people are prepared to put up with this sort of crap from their printers. However, it does go some way to explain why Simon no longer prints off the scripts. No, it doesn't, Dave, because I made the big brain move and I bought a continuous ink printer. It was really expensive. It was £500 equivalent. $600-700. It's A3. It's called an Epson i1800 or something, and it's an absolute fucking gem. It prints amazing color pictures, and I have refilled the black ink once, and I think I refilled one of the colors once, and I've had it like 3 years, and it's awesome. Go buy a continuous ink printer. You won't regret it. And the ink that you pour into it, it comes in a massive bottle, and it costs about £3, and it's official Epson ink. It's just the best way to go. Thanks for watching. But that's not where they make the money. They make the money on the popcorn and stuff, which is why you just sneak in your own shit.